Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can, spins a web.
Welcome to I'm Your Target Demographic. Today we're going to be talking about Spider-Man. Now, if you're not in the know, here's some backstory. There's a Spider-Man series of movies with Tobey Maguire, right, back in the 2000s. There were a couple Spider-Man movies with Andrew Garfield, but those are done. They've recast Spider-Man, and they're going to relaunch the series, kind of tied into the Avengers and the other films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So some of you are probably like, what? Why would they do that? But this is really a blessing in disguise. A lot of people were pro Andrew Garfield, but I'm okay losing him if that means we get Spider-Man kind of wrapped into the other films that have happened so far, because it'd be great to see him swinging around New York alongside the Avengers. But that means that they're going to basically start from scratch. They've cast a young actor named Tom Holland, who's 19 years old, and I think he's going to be playing a high school-aged Peter Parker. So we're kind of going back. He's going to be really young so that they can keep Tom Holland for a while. Because they're about to lose Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth probably. Their contracts are about to be up, so they need that big superhero name to kind of keep going after Avengers number 3. So looks like it's going to be Spider-Man. So we know that they're going to be making a new Spider-Man movie, but we don't know who the villain is going to be. So this video is really 5 ideas that I have for villains that they could or should incorporate into this movie. But before I say who they should, I want to cover who they shouldn't. Because there's a lot of really popular villains that now is just not the time for. And the first one is Venom. Venom is awesome. I mean, I grew up, in the comics of the 90s when Venom was like all the rage and like it was cool and anti-heroes were kind of cool. But now is not the time. You shouldn't kick off the Spider-Man franchise with Venom. They might go the route of kind of delivering the symbiote via the Infinity War or the Guardians. Like somehow it's got to get here from outer space first. And we should have an established Spider-Man that then has to deal with it, not the first movie out. And then also, because if we shouldn't introduce Venom, we also should not do Carnage. It's way too early to do Carnage. We need Carnage to be like the third film, right? Spider-Man 2 is maybe Venom and the symbiote. Spider-Man 3 is maybe Maximum Carnage. Go out with a bang. But Venom and Carnage, not ready yet. The other one that I don't think we're ready for is Kraven the Hunter. And Kraven has never been in a live-action movie, which is a shame. But again, I think it might be too early. Kraven is a hunter, Kraven the Hunter, and he tracks lions and all sorts of dangerous game. And he sees Spider-Man as like, if I can hunt and kill Spider-Man, that's like the apex of my career. So it wouldn't make sense for him to be hunting down an inexperienced, unknown Spider-Man, right? This would be way later, once Spider-Man is a formidable force, that Kraven shows up on the scene. So too early for Kraven. And then the last villain that they should not use is Green Goblin. Now, yes, they may introduce Harry Osborn or Norman Osborn or any of the Osborns, but we've seen 2 Green Goblins already, and I was not really super pumped about either of them, especially the last one in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Didn't sit right with me, and so I think we need a timeout from Green Goblin. All right, let's give Harry a couple movies or something to work up to that. Or Norman, whichever route they go. But too soon, give it a few movies. So now the 5 that I think would be ideal candidates for the first solo Spider-Man movie. The first one is a villain named Mysterio. Mysterio is a kind of special effects wizard, and he does like kind of practical effects and smoke and illusions and all sorts of stuff. He's never been in a film before, and he's not kind of high tier enough that he's like an ultimate threat to Spider-Man. So I think it'd be a good intro that this high school age, inexperienced Spider-Man versus this guy who's kind of upset with his career, and he just basically knows how to do these practical effects. So let's start robbing banks. It's kind of a low-level criminal that Spider-Man could tackle during this first bout. Number 2 would be Dr. Octopus. Now, we have seen Dr. Octopus before in Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, and that's widely considered one of the best superhero movies to date. Say what you will about Tobey Maguire, but that movie was awesome. And Dr. Octopus is one of the reasons why that movie was so awesome, that he was a fleshed-out, 3-dimensional character, and you understood why he was doing it and you felt for him, but he still just dominated. So I think, that was like 12, 13 years ago, so it's time for Doc Ock to come back. And I think this would make sense with a high school age Peter Parker. He could intern for or work for, Dr. Octopus while he's experimenting with stuff. Like, they could make the stories make sense. And he's kind of a formidable, recognizable Spider-Man villain that they could cast a pretty big name to fill that role. Number 3, I'm going to go with another villain that's never been on the big screen before, and that is a villain called the Vulture. The Vulture is kind of an older guy that kind of gets this suit and realizes, like, I can change my life and I can start making money and robbing people. And his suit is kind of green and feathery, and he basically flies around and terrorizes New York City. It is a little similar aesthetically to the Falcon, but we could go, either they could make it enough different, different enough that it's feathers, it doesn't look the same, they can do different stuff, or maybe they could go another route, where he actually gets a hold of one of Falcon's outfits, or the prototype, or he upgrades it, something where they play on the fact that they're very similar. And that would kind of tie Spider-Man to the universe in another interesting way. But the Vulture would be a cool, again, lower-level villain that he could face off while being this inexperienced Spider-Man. The fight scenes would be incredible, right? Someone flying around and someone swinging around. Like, they could do some really cool kind of mid-air fight scenes with those dynamics. Number 4 would be a villain that ties Spider-Man to the darker side of what's coming from Marvel. And that would be using this vampire character named Morbius. Morbius is a vampire. And he kind of starts as a villain for Spider-Man, but eventually becomes an ally, which is strange, but yes, he is a vampire. And it would introduce kind of this darker, kind of supernatural world that they may play up with Doctor Strange. They may play up with some of the Netflix series, like if there's a Blade, if there's a Ghost Rider, things like that. So it'd be interesting to introduce the concept of vampires and the supernatural world in the solo Spider-Man movie. And Morbius would be an awesome character to play, that they could get someone really crazy that would just go full on and just like be this awesome villain for Spider-Man. And who wouldn't love a post-credit scene with Blade and Spider-Man together? Maybe to launch the Netflix series or to launch Blade's new reboot, whatever's going to happen. That would be really cool to see Morbius on screen. And number 5 that would be an easy villain to introduce is the Kingpin. The Kingpin, in addition to being one of Daredevil's greatest enemies, is also a traditional enemy for Spider-Man. That kind of, both of them are in New York City, and so the Kingpin and his crime rings and all the stuff he's doing affects Spider-Man a lot. So it'd be cool to see this villain that we've had 13 hours of Daredevil to get to know, kind of show up on the scene and try to run things. Maybe what happens in Daredevil Season 2, maybe he escapes or is let loose, he's back out in the city, he's the Kingpin that's running this place. And little high school age Peter Parker tries to stop him. That'd be an interesting dynamic. He'd probably get his butt whooped, but it'd be cool to see. And maybe there could be cameos by characters like Daredevil, Punisher, other New York City street-level characters that, maybe finally we could bring them from the Netflix series into the movies via Spider-Man. So that would be really cool. And who wouldn't want to see more Kingpin from Vincent D'Onofrio? So those are the 5 that I think could make an easy leap into the solo Spider-Man movie. Who do you think would be the best? Which of those 5 sounds like the coolest movie idea to you? Or is there someone else that I didn't talk about? Or is there someone else that maybe had their chance, but you think should come back? Like, that movie wasn't good, but I really want to see the Lizard again. So let me know in the comments what villain you want to see Spider-Man face off against, be it on this list or not. Tell me. Also, make sure, if you like what you've seen here, subscribe. Head over to our Facebook page at facebook.com/IAYTD. Give us a like. I review movies. I do a lot of stuff. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can, spins a web